Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Thank you very much for joining us today. The day after Govardhan Puja. I hope everybody is recovered from our parikram yesterday. So I wanted to seek our devotees' blessings and good wishes so that we can remember two glorious devotees of the Lord. Oh yes, before we do that, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So these two devotees, one took birth yesterday, Rasikananda, prabhu, or his appearance was yesterday, just after the time of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And the second is Vasudeva Ghosh, who was at the time, or he was a close associate of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So he disappeared today. So we can remember both of these personalities. And the idea is we want to remember these great souls, to invoke their blessings, to learn something from their lives so that it will help us in our devotion. And the Lord also becomes pleased when we remember these great souls. So let's start with Rasikananda Prabhu. Okay. He appeared in this world on Diwali day. So actually that was the day before. No, it says actually Govardhan. So it must be the day after Diwali in 1590. So it's quite a few years after Chaitanya Mahaprabhu left this planet. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu left in 1524. So in the village of Rohini or Raini in the Madna Pore district. This village is situated at the confluence of the Subarnarekha and Dolanga rivers. His father's name was Achyutanandan and his mother's name is Bhavani Devi. So this Subarnarekha river crosses back and forth across the present-day Bengal-Orissa border. Midnapore district used to be part of Orissa, but now it's part of Bengal, as far as I understand. Achyutanandan, he was actually like a local king. He was Orisan of the Karana caste, the equivalent of the Kayashthas in Bengal. So like Kshatriyas, sort of the ruling class. Of course, a Vaishnava is beyond the material qualities and should not be judged in terms of his origins, caste, or even his gender. Rasikanandan was also known, actually he was given the name when he was born, Rasika Murari. In the village, and this is a quotation from a scripture called the Bhakti Ratnakara. In the village of Raini lived the famous son of Achyutanandan. He had two names, Rasikanandan and Murari. And thus he was known as Rasika Murari. He became learned in the scriptures in his childhood. So it's interesting that this reference is there. At a very young age, he became quite proficient in all the scriptures. He was very devoted to his parents, especially his mother, whose name was Bhavani. His father married him at a young age. Murari's wife, Shyamadasi, was a treasure chest of good character who hailed from the village of Ghonta Shila, not far from Rohini, on the banks of the Survana Rekha, where in early ages the Pandavas had lived in exile. Rasika Murari was anxious to find a spiritual master who could give him guidance on the mystical path. So what happened? One day, while in Gantashila, he went to a solitary place to meditate. He had just entered into a very deep trance when he heard a voice from an unseen source saying, Murari, you need be anxious no longer. Your guru, Shyamananda, and you will, your guru is Shyamananda, and you will meet him here very shortly. Take shelter of him, and your life will be successful. So his contemplation was very deep. He had a very strong desire for this spiritual guidance. Upon hearing the divine message, Murari began chanting the name of Shyamananda on his beads with joyful enthusiasm. He spent the entire night crying out of eager expectation to meet his guru, until finally at the end of the night, he had a dream vision of Shyamananda Prabhu, who said to him, "Don't worry any longer, for you will meet me on this very day." So at dawn, Rasika Murari was on the lookout for his guru when he saw the tall figure of Shyamananda approaching him, as effulgent as the sun. Surrounded by disciples like Kishore Das, he was dancing in the state of absorption in divine love while chanting the names of Nityananda and Chaitanya. Actually, I wanted to ask devotees, do you remember Shyamanandan at all? Who is he? Anybody remember? We've talked about him in the past. He is one of the three musketeers. Yeah, that's right.
Radharani.
That's right. That's it. That's right.
We found her anklet.
So do you want go on?
Okay, so when he came to Vrindavan, the service that he was given was sweeping the pathway in
Radha.
No, Nidhivan?
Oh, yeah.
In Nidhivan. Yeah. And that's all he did for so many years. And then one day, while he's sweeping, he found this anklet. When he found
what place you, excuse me, Prabhuji, what place you are told? Nidhivan?
Yeah, probably Nidhivan. That's right. It was Nidhivan. That's right. In Vrindavan. Yeah.
Prabhuji stayed at night?
No, he was just sweeping there. He was given that task by Jiva Goswami to sweep.
At night?
No, during the daytime.
Oh. Yeah, no one used to stay there at night.
Yeah, too risky.
Bird or animal have to not stay.
That's right. At night, nobody stays.
So when he found this, it was like near a bush, and when he found it, it was shining. So he realized it was from someone's divine feet that had come from. So he kept it, and then after a little while, a little girl came. She's looking around. So she asked Shyamananda, "Have you actually?" At that time, his name was Dukhi Krishna. It wasn't Shyamananda. And so she said, "Have you found an anklet? My mistress has lost an anklet." So he said, "Yes, I have found it, but I will only give it to the person it belongs to." So this was Lalita who came. So she went back to Radharani and said, someone has found it, but they only give it to you. So Radharani came, and Shyamananda gave it to Radharani. And then Radharani said, "I'm so pleased with your service and your humbleness that from this day, your name is Shyamananda." And she also marked his forehead with a special tilak marking, and this tilak marking was a permanent marking, which didn't go away. And she also gave him her own a deity of Shyam as well. That's why I read, yes.
So when he saw Lalita, he immediately knew that this is somebody very divine. Hence why he said, "Okay, if this anklet belongs to your your
mistress,
then I'd like to see her as well. So he knew something was going on. And he was very blessed, actually. And when he told this pastime to Jiva Goswami was so happy. But his own spiritual master was wondering, Hidananda was wondering what was going on. And when he heard about it, he came to Vrindavan and he started chastising Shyamananda. And Shyamananda was very humble. He didn't say anything. But then Radharani came to Hidananda's dream and told him that, don't chastise your disciple. I have blessed him myself. So very fortunate. Shyamananda is a really powerful personality. And there were three of them, actually, the three musketeers, of the first book distributors of the Hare Krishna movement, together with Narottam Das Thakur and Srinivas Acharya. Three of them were instructed by Jiva Goswami to take the books of the Goswamis to Bengal and start distributing them. So Shyamananda was one of them. So really amazing personality. And he became the guru of Rasikananda. Rasika Murari had been waiting anxiously for so long to encounter his guru that he immediately fell down at his feet. Shyamananda affectionately lifted him up and embraced him. Then, after giving him the Radha Krishna mantra, he offered him to Chaitanya and Nityananda Prabhus. This is the thing about spiritual masters. They don't regard themselves as spiritual masters. Like Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, the guru of Prabhupada, he used to say to his disciples, he used to call him Prabhu, master. Because actually the guru learns from the disciple as well. He learns in a different way, of course. This whole story demonstrates also that we can find a guru through sincere prayers. This is the whole point. Sometimes we think, when will I find a guru? And, we're looking. But actually, if we're looking sincerely, then Krishna will definitely send us the spiritual master. On an auspicious day, Shyamananda initiated Rasika and his wife into the Radha Krishna mantra. Rasikananda Prabhu fully committed himself in body, mind, and soul to the service of his guru. Indeed, he served him so well that in a short time, he was recognized as Shyamanandan's chief disciple, a very powerful preacher and initiating guru himself. In fact, there is a saying that a good disciple makes a good teacher. A spiritual master may have innumerable followers who call him their guru, but are disciples in name only. Only a true disciple who has dedicated himself completely to his spiritual master is imbued with all the powers of the guru. So this is very important that we don't. It's not a fashion to take a guru. It's important to take a guru because without a spiritual master, we cannot attain Krishna. And without Krishna, we cannot attain a spiritual master. It really works both ways. But it's not a fashion that we take a guru because, that's the thing to do. No, it is a thing to do, but it is in order to serve the guru. It is in order to become come into this line of Krishna consciousness and follow the spiritual master's instructions and in his footsteps. Rasikanandan began to travel with his guru, during which time he became a very intimate disciple. Shyamananda bestowed upon him the service of Shri Radha Govindev at Gopi Ballabhapur. Rasikanandan became totally engaged in their lordship's service, and the devotees were charmed by his excellent services. At Gopi Ballabhapur and other places, he began to seriously take up the preaching of the message of Gaur Nitai. Shyamananda invested Rasikanandan with such spiritual power that he was able to convert many criminals, atheists, Muslims, and other fallen spirit souls to the path of devotion, bestowing the jewel of prema among them all. It is not possible to count the number of living entities that were extricated from the ocean of material existence by Rasikananda's association. He was always intoxicated with the chanting of the holy name. And this quote is from, again, the Bhakti Ratnagar. Who cannot but be overwhelmed by hearing about his own uncommon qualities? So many virtuous kings and zamindars, landowners, right, such as King of Mayur Bhanj, named Vaidyanath Bhanj, the King of Patashpur, known as Gajapati, and Chandrabhanu, the King of Moinya, took shelter at his lotus feet. Many atheists, non-believers were transformed into devotees of Gaur Nitai. By his tremendous influence in preaching, many rogues, robbers, atheists were delivered from their sinful activities and received his mercy. He distributed the jewel of devotion as he traveled from village to village in the company of his disciples. On one occasion, a wicked Muslim tried to silence Rasikananda by having him attacked by an intoxicated elephant. But Rasikananda was able to transform even the elephant into a disciple and engage him in the service of Vishnu and the Vaishnavas. Extraordinary, actually. All who witnessed this amazing event were overwhelmed with astonishment at Rasikananda's spiritual power, and the evil Muslim zamindar himself came and surrendered unto him. Another vicious wild elephant was tamed by Rasikananda's transcendental influence, and henceforth was known as Gopal Das. Later, 2 jungle tigers likewise gave up their ferocious nature. So he was such a powerful soul. One year, during Lord Jagannath's Rath Yatra festival, a wonderful pastime took place. Rasikananda Dev was preaching somewhere in the country, but when he realized it was time for Rath Yatra, he dropped everything and rushed like the wind in order to come to Nilachan, Puri, in time for the festival. In the meantime, the festival had already begun. Lord Jagannath, who felt reciprocal separation from his dear devotee Rasikananda, caused the chariot, the Rath, to stop. Though the king summoned his elephants to push the Rath, under no circumstances could they budge it, not even an inch. So we've had sort of experience like that in one sense, that when we went to see the Rath Yatra a couple of years, sometimes the Rath would just stop. No matter how hard the devotees tried to shift it, they just couldn't do it. But then on a certain times, the Rath would just move very fast, even without anybody necessarily pulling the cart. So it's quite extraordinary. When Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur was born in Puri, the Rath cart stopped outside his home and wouldn't move until his father, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he's standing a little that way today. He must have been looking at Govardhan, Bhaktivinoda Thakur. So the Rath cart stopped, and until they brought Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati before the deities of Jagannath, the Rath cart didn't move. And at that time also the garland of Jagannath fell, and they gave that to Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati. That was very interesting. So Jagannath has a lot of reciprocation with his devotees. Then Lord Jagannath, seeing that the king was becoming frustrated, informed him that he was waiting for his devotee, Rasika. Finally, Rasikananda arrived, carrying with him many offerings of silk cloths and other presents. He fell to offer his dandavats before Jagannath, and the king requested him to pull the rope, at which the cart began to easily move along the road, just as the clouds move in the sky. Later, the king requested Rasikananda to accept a gift of land so he might establish a temple there. Rasikananda requested the place known as Fultota Mat, which is now known as Kunjamat. There he installed the deity of Sri Krishna, and the deity is now known as Sri Sri Radha Rasika Rai. Rasikananda had 3 sons, Radhanandan, Krishna Govinda, and Radha Krishna. The present servants of Shri Radha Govindev at Gopi Ballabhapur are their descendants. And he composed Shyamananda Saktaka, Srimad Bhagavat Astaka, Bhagavat Astaka, Kunja Kelly Dwada Shaka, and other hymns and songs. Accepting the order of his guru, Shyamananda on his head, Rasikananda preached the message of Gauranga in this world for approximately 16 years. Thereafter, he entered into the internal pastimes through the lotus feet of Gopinath at Remuna, which is quite another extraordinary activity that took place. Remuna is in Orissa, and it's a very famous temple where there is Kir Chor Gopinath, which we've talked about before. So he visited there with his disciples, and there he left his body in the temple in Ramuna. These are his deities. This is Radha Govindji, beautiful deities, still being worshipped. Oops. So that is Rasikananda. Rasikananda Prabhu ki jai. And next we wanted to talk about Vasudeva Ghosh, who is another very interesting personality. That is a disappearance today. And okay. Now, Prabhupada has written about, yes, this is the verse about him. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita, in the Adilila, 10th canto, chapter, 115th verse. Govinda Madhava Vasudeva Dinabhaya Yan Sabara Kirtane Nache Chaitanya.
The three brothers Govinda, Madhav, and Vasudeva were the 82nd, 83rd, and 84th branches of the tree. Lord Chaitanya and Nityananda used to dance in the Kirtan performances.
So they were great singers. Three brothers, Govinda, Madhav, Vasudeva. And Prabhupada writes in this purport, the three brothers, Govinda, Madhav, and Vasudeva Ghosh, all belong to a Kayashta family. So again, Kshatriya family. Generally speaking, some of them are Brahmins, but mostly Kshatriyas. Govinda established the Goinath temple in Agradvip, where he resided. Madhav Ghosh was expert in performing kirtan. No one within this world could compete with him. He was known as a singer of Vrindavan and was very dear to Nityananda Prabhu. It is said that when the three brothers performed Sankirtan, immediately Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda would dance in ecstasy. So they were also associates, they were close associates. These three brothers moved to Navadvip during Lord Chaitanya's time. According to Gaur Ganadesha Dipika 188, the three brothers were formerly Kalavati, Rasholasa, and Gunatunga, who recited the songs composed by Vishaka Gopi. So they were actually gopis, sakhis in Krishna Lila. So they are sakhis in Krishna Lila. And they come under the supervision of Vishaka. Vishaka is their leader. And their service is to sing. So that hence why they were great singers here. The three brothers were amongst one of the 7 parties that performed kirtan when Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu attended the Rath Yatra festival at Jagannath Puri. Bakreshwar Pandit was the chief dancer in their party. This is vividly described in the Madhya Lila chapter 13, verse 42 and 43 of Chaitanya Charitamrita. So, according to the Gauda Prasad Charitavali, the three brothers Vasudeva Ghosh, Madhava Ghosh, and Govinda Ghosh were especially sweet-throated singers. When these three would sing, Nityananda Prabhu himself would dance in great ecstasy. Their home village was within Srihatta, in a place called either Burangi Gram, yeah. After the passing away of their father, Vasudeva Govinda and Madhav Ghosh went to live in Navadvip Dham. So according to Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada, these three are situated in Madhurya Ras and are in the section of those who have accepted Radhika as their ultimate Ashraya Vigraha. Every year they would come to Puri to see Mahaprabhu and perform kirtan during Rath Yatra. So when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he took sannyas, he left Navadvip, and he resided in Jagannath Puri. And then the devotees used to travel from Navadvip, Bengal, to Orissa, Jagannath Puri, every year for the Rath Yatra festival. And they would stay for 4 months at that time, generally speaking. Vasudeva and Madhav was sent with Nityananda to preach in Bengal. And Govinda stayed for some time with Mahaprabhu at Puri. And that's really a very interesting personality as well, Govinda. And we, yes, in a few minutes, Riyansh, just give it another couple of minutes. I'll tell you when to sing. Govinda is also a very interesting person. And when we talk, when it's his appearance or Disappearance Day, we'll talk about him. He's got a very special relationship with Mahaprabhu. Later in life, they took up residences at different places. Govinda lived in Agra Dweep, Madhav lived in Dainhat, and Vasudeva lived in Tamluk. Now, Tamluk is very interesting. Before, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, when he took sannyas in 1500 in a place called Katwa, they tricked him and he had to come to Shantipur at the place of Advaitacharya, and he stayed there for actually 14 days, not 10 days, 14 days. And after taking permission from his mother, he wanted to go to Vrindavan, but his mother said, no, stay in Puri because at least it's a little bit closer and I'll get to know about your activities. So Gauranga agreed, and he went towards Jagannath Puri, and actually he stopped at Tamluk for a day. Oops. And what did he do there? After bathing in the Ganga, he took darshan of Lord Shiva. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu teaches us that we should not show disrespect to any demigod. So he's Supreme Personality of Godhead, but he went and paid respects to Lord Shiva, as they have all been engaged by Supreme Lord in their different services. Lord Shiva is the greatest of the Vaishnavas, Vaishnavita Sambhu, and hence we should show all respect and try to seek inspiration from him. And then, first time ever, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu did door-to-door begging. This is the job of the sannyasis. Sannyasis didn't have anything with them. They wouldn't carry anything with them. They would just beg, and whatever they would get, they would cook it and eat it. So this is the first time that he did this after accepting sannyas. And in this way, he showered his causeless mercy upon the pious residents of Tamluk and sanctified the land with the dust of his lotus feet. The people were astonished, realizing how the Lord himself arrived at their doorstep to show his blessings, and they gave whatever little vegetables, etc. they had to him. And then Jagannandan Pandit, he's the incarnation of Satyabhama. He was with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he stayed with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He would cook all of the food and vegetables that Gauranga had collected, and then they would distribute this to the prasad to the devotees. And that night they performed kirtan all night. And then the following morning, Gauranga left. He came a second time again to Tamluk. And the second time, he came because he was on his way back from South Bharat, back to Jagannath Puri, and he stopped there for a night or two. So again, he showered his blessings. So Tamluk is a very auspicious place. In that same Tamluk, Vasudeva Ghosh Thakur established his bhajan kutir at the exact place where Gauranga had previously stopped. And that place is there still today. It's now called the Sri, it's some similar name to this, Mahaprabhu Mandir. And Vasudeva Ghosh, he preached in that area the science of Bhakti Yoga, and he he's given so many bhajans which glorify Gauranga and his incomprehensible, magnanimous pastimes. Vasudeva is also sometimes referred to as the greatest of Gaudiya Vaishnava poets, as the deep mellows of his songs would even melt this wood and stones. And this is a young Riyaj. He knows this bhajan very nicely. So he's one of his bhajans. In one of his songs, he asserts that Chaitanya is one and the same as Ram, Krishna, and Jagannath. So we wanted to ask Riyaj to sing this beautiful bhajan. Are you there? Yes, good boy.
Yes, Prabhuji. Jai Jai Jagannath Sachidananda Tribhuvana Koreja Charana Vanda. Jai Jai Jagannath Sachidananda Tribhuvana Koreja Charana Vanda. Nilachale Shanka Chakra Padmadar Nadiya Nagare Danda Kamandaluka Nilachale Shanka Chakra Padmadar Nadiya Nagare Danda Kamandaluka Keho Bole Pura Vetravan Badinda Golo Kera Bolela Prakash Korela Keho Bole Pura Vetravan Ravan Badira, Gola Kera, Bolila, Prega, Korila, Jai Jai Jagannath, Sachidananda, Tribhuvana Koreja Charana Vanda. Jai Jai Jagannath, Sachidananda, Tribhuvana Koreja Charana Vanda. Shri Radha Bhave Ave Gora Avatar Hare Krishna Nam Gore Kori Labrecha Shri Radha Bhave Ave Gora Avatar Hare Krishna Nam Gore Kori Labrecha Vasudeva Ghosh Pore Kori Chode Har Jai Gaur Se Krishna Se Jagannath Vasudeva Ghosh Pore Kori Chode Har Jai Gaur Se Krishna Se Jagannath Jai Jai Jagannath Sachidananda Tribhuvana Koreja Charana Vanda Jai Jai Jagannath Sachidananda Tribhuvana Koreja Charana Vanda.
Well done, Riyaj. Beautifully sung. Thank you.
Marvelous.
Very good, yes. So would you like to read the translation, Riyaj?
Yes, Prabhuji. Translation. All glories to the dear son of Jagannath Misra and Sachi Devi. All the three worlds offer prayers unto his lotus feet. In Nilachala he holds the conch shell, disc, club and lotus flower. While in the town of Nadia he holds a sannyasi staff and water pot. It is said that in olden times, as Lord Ramachandra, he killed the demon Ravana. Then later, as Lord Krishna, he revealed the splendorously opulent pastimes of Goloka. It is he who has come. He has come, hope from Vraja. He has come to Nadia, accepting the mood and lustre of Sri Radha. He has come from Vraja of Nadia. He has come, now Lord Govinda, the cowherd boy, has come as Lord Gauranga. He has come distributing the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Vasudeva Ghosha says with folded hands, he who is Gaura, he who is Krishna, and he who is Jagannath.
Thank you so much, Riyaj. Very good, very good. Oh, sorry. So when Vasudeva Ghosh received the news of Mahaprabhu's departure from this world, he promptly proceeded to dig his own samadhi, his own grave, and he sat down inside it. He was so unhappy to wait for his final breath. So everybody was actually very anxious because Vasudeva Ghosh was determined to finish his own life. But at that time, Mahaprabhu actually appeared there and he said to him, this body doesn't belong to you. He mildly chastised him. It's my body now. It's not yours. You can't do this. And with one hand, he offered benedictions. And on the other, he indicated Vasudeva Ghosh should get up out of the hall. And then Vasudeva asked for benediction that the Lord should enjoy eternally with him at that very place, Tamluk. And the Lord agreed to that. He also proclaimed that the place henceforth, this Tamluk, will be renowned as the king of all pilgrimages. And whoever obtains darshan of the deities worshipped here would get pure devotion and return back to home, back to God at the end of his present life. So the service in this temple at the moment is carried out by the lineage of Shyamananda Prabhu, the disciples, grand disciple or great-great-great-grand disciples. And the deities are as follows. There's 4 deities. Mahaprabhu is standing there and he's got a really interesting pose. We'll see in a minute. He's got an interesting mudra pose, quite unlike any other deity of Mahaprabhu. And then there's Shyamananda Ju, and then there's Lord Jagannath, and there's Radha Gopinath. These are the actual deities of Shyamanandan. So this is the temple entrance. And then this is Gauranga. And if you look at his hand, it's like downwards. He's doing it that way. It's like a mudra, welcome, or something like that. And this one's holding flower.
It's like that.
Like that, yeah. Yeah. And then we have Shyam Sundar, we have incredible Jagannath and Gopinath. These are the deities of Shyam Sundar. Very interesting. Shyamananda. And then he passed away there after many years. And then this is his samadhi where they kept his body. So, Vasudeva Ghosh ki jai. So, I wanted to stop there if anybody has any comments. Madhusudan Prabhu.
Sorry, Navi. Yeah, just no, it's good. You've covered, it's quite well, and nice to hear the pastimes of these devotees. So these personalities. Yeah, no.
Thank you.
Fine. Yeah.
Oh, Riansh, you have something to ask or comment?
Prabhuji, can I tell one shloka from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 5?
Oh, what chapter?
What chapter? I don't know, Prabhuji. But
so when did you learn this?
I learned yesterday.
Wow. Go on then. Recite it.
Om Namo Bhagavate Narasimhaya. Namaste Tejase Avir Bhava Prajranaka Vajradamsta Karmashayan Rande Tamo Grasa Om Swaha Abhayam Bhuishta Om Shram.
Hari Bol. Very good, very good. That is Canto 5, chapter 18, verse 8, that I was thinking of telling Nabi Prabhu to add in the Narsingha prayer, because this is a prayer that we ask Lord Narsingha to remove all the anartha from our heart. Very
nice.
Good, Riansh. Very good.
Very good.
Yeah, it's chapter 18, verse 8.
Okay, 5:18:8.
Yes.
Sorry,
well
chapter
done.
18, verse 8. All right, 5:18:8. Good. I'll add it in. Well done, Riansh, and well done, Indu Lekamaji. Very good.
I think I sent you that before.
Oh, have you? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Good. Thank you so much. So we can go to the, unless there's any other comments or questions, we can go to the Nishinga Kavach. Let's see.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Yes, Maji.
Where does Riyansh live?
Hyderabad.
Oh, he's... Do you know which part?
You can ask him. Where are you? Riyansh, where do you live?
Raja, I live in Hyderabad.
Yes, which part? Guntur?
No, Hyderabad is not in Guntur.
Nizampet.
Nizampet, okay.
Oh, okay, okay.
So Rohit is also
do you know
from
the
Hyderabad.
temple in Hyderabad? ISKCON temple?
Yeah.
They're not near any temple.
Sorry?
They're not near any temple.
Oh, okay.
No,
okay.
Nizampet, there is temple. There is before some Kukatpalli Namata center is there. Jagannath temple. They worship in building Jagannath deities. There are many centers also.
In Hyderabad, no? Yeah.
Yeah, so many centers are there.
No, proper temple. I've been there to a proper temple. That's why I'm asking.
Yeah, it is there. ISKCON Abbots. It was inaugurated by Srila Prabhupada.
Yes,
Srila Prabhupada came.
Abbot, you said ISKCON Abbot? So, yes, I will ask and let you know where it went.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. So,
Riyansh ki jai.
Yeah. So, Indulekha Maji, would you like to chant?
Nishinga Kavach?
Yeah.
Yes, Prabhuji.